2.7. Okay, so now you're talking about looking at the economic differences between what we rates between Blue Cross and Purdue.
We know there is a significant savings. We have addressed that, yes.
But at the same time, if you're talking about dental and so forth, where's your dental cost? I mean, it's, if you want,
We took the dental renewal
you
back.
should, you present something to me,
Sure.
and make a decision, go for dinner around without any questions asked. And then you got Blue Cross, and then you have other items attached as dental, eye care, and so forth, attached to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'd like to see the total costs.
No, they're not, that's fine. And basically, there's the costs for our dental and vision are in the packet under their sections. We just added them here for
It would be
presentation.
nice, like I said, for us to make a final decision, a lot easier instead of playing around with transparency and so
No,
forth.
that's fine.
Put all the figures in front of us.
Right now, this is really just the health aspect. We were showing total. The health aspect right there, all three of those figures are healthy. We don't have to elect for government dental if we choose not to. We can stay with our own and design those.
You're saying the package that you're presenting me right now in front of me does not have dental or eye care?
Right now we're on the healthcare portion of it mainly. No, eye care is not on any of the three of us.
Okay, so you were just as we're spilling out the per derma, you're explaining the dental and eye.
We can put it all under one umbrella. So basically, instead of having
Well,
three
I'd like to
lines-
see, okay, that's what we're buying, going for the whole umbrella
Okay.
and work with the figures straight in front of us. Made it a little simpler, a little easier to go through. Put a picture. Thank you.
I was just thinking about when we were interviewing individuals for office of executive director, and I remember you posing the question about, well, and you were doing this just because you really liked it. You were, what do you think about the union? And we got to talking about it too. And I agree with Larry. Your statements on this in regards to this are a good place to start and a good way to go. I agree with Larry on this.
I like the rate stabilization here.
They usually take the government.
It would never go like that.
It hasn't traditionally been a drastic issue on us.
So in years past, we budgeted 20% increases for health insurance every year. We're looking at possibly 10.
The reason we went to United Healthcare was because we had budgeted 20% before, but then unfortunately it ended up being 30%, and we had to. That's what we ended up with.
So we switch from year to year, chasing the lowest grade, but this way these will get some stability.
One question in regards to Blue Cross is that if you're looking at the streets, what I have in front of me, looking at $17,000 savings for this year, holding off until next year to go to per derma. Is there going to be anything drastically changed besides the normal increases?
The only thing that could happen moving forward to next year is we were selected this year if because they're a risk pool, they don't have to, they still govern under, they can go through our health history and decide whether they choose to elect us as a safe risk or not. In the past, the district has been denied as not being a safe risk. This year, we were accepted as a safe risk. Doesn't mean we'd be accepted automatically again next year. Next year, if there were a couple catastrophes that would go on medically in any of the health or any employees, they viewed us as a high-risk candidate, they can deny us.
So are you getting anything catastrophes?
I can't plan what people have personally.
Hopefully you guys will work in safety in mind.
It's not just safety. It could be something medical that we can't control. That's the only reason why we like the general plan this year is because in the past we have been denied.
You were giving an opportunity to join up.
Yes.
Commissioner Science, I just wanted to correct something you just stated. It's actually $14,000 savings per month. So it'll be 14,000 times 12. You just get the savings there.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Okay.
motion we would be looking at would be to go with Derma's $500 deductible plan for health insurance coverage.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any other discussion or questions?
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Solosky.
Yes.
Stein.
Thanks.
Motion carries.
Item F, seeking a motion to approve resolution 2014-23, authorizing membership in the Park District Risk Management Agency.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion, any more? Maureen? Lori, I'm sorry, is there anything else you want to say? We're on the resolution portion.
Commissioners, any questions or discussion on this? Roll call.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Solosky.
Yes.
Stein.
Whatever you want to hear, God, whatever.
We're on item
Motion
F.
to
Yeah.
adjourn.
That's fine.
Motion carries.
Item G.
Excuse me 1 second. Could the students in the room maybe shut it? Thank you.
Item G, seeking a motion to approve resolution 2014-24, authorizing membership in the Park District Risk Management Agency Health Program. Presentation.
As G, this is just me.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Solosky.
Yes.
Stein. Motion carries.
Item H, seeking a motion to approve employee dental insurance.
Do you want to discuss this about?
In your packet is a memo regarding the district's dental renewal. Currently, we are with Delta Dental. In your packet is an example of the plan that we are currently in. Derma also offers coverage through Delta Dental. It's a slightly different program, a higher level of orthodontia, as a simple example of the difference in their benefits. The cost directly through Delta Dental is $2,065.45 per month. The cost for Delta Dental through Derma is $2,428.67, so about a $375 difference per month. Being that we do have now for Derma health insurance coverage, it would make sense administratively for efficiency's sake to then go with their dental coverage as well, if the board so chooses.
Any questions? Okay. So the motion to approve employee dental insurance would be
If you, we our
staff's recommendation to go with the Delta Dental through the Derma for the plan year January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. Roll call. We did
I'll make that motion. Option one.
Second. All right. Roll call.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Solosky.
Yes.
Stein.
With Derma, yeah. No problem. That's it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item A, seeking a motion to approve employee life insurance.
I actually, now that we've done,
Item
it's not that we've elected to give the coverage, it's part of that plan, so we can actually dismiss that motion.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. So we move ahead to J. Seeking a motion to approve resolution 2014-20, an intergovernmental agreement with Plainfield Township for the program manager for seniors and adults.
Madam President, I just wanted to address that. I'm going to recommend that we table that to the next meeting in December. I spoke to council for Plainfield Township today. We just have an issue maybe with the term. We have 5 years in there, and number needs to be 5 or 3. So I would suggest that we table it until December.
Okay, so item J will be tabled.
Motion.
Is there a motion to table that?
See motion to table on that.
Pierce.
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Solosky? Yes. Stein?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item L, seeking a motion to approve resolution 2014-22, authorizing the president to execute an agreement amending the park dedication agreement for the Springs at 127th Street.
Are we doing K or L?
You know, this guy,
That's what-
Oh, I got ahead, I'm sorry. 2014-21, authorizing the president to execute a license agreement with Wheatland Township. Item K.
This, oh, I'm sorry.
no,
This intergovernmental agreement that we're trying to, or license that we're trying to establish is to allow us access to maintain the properties located kind of property. If you can see I apologize. Basically, we put through the agreement for dedication and then the agreement for the village annexation. One of the things that in the annexation stated was kind of properties stated they could not have, they would not provide access through their properties for us to access the park. So right now, at the current way it sits, the only way we can access this property to maintain it would be going through the Wheatland Township's park. So right now, if you look at how the site plan was originally set, the Continental property sits right here. This is where our park sits, 127th Street is down here, and then this is the Wheatland Township Park. So right now, we're trying to do this license to go through here to access our property. An overview of it, and I'm sorry, it's a little dark. One of the thoughts when we accepted the properties was that as future developments came on, which is the open land around it, we'd be able to access it through another mechanism at that time, but as development has stopped, right now this is the only viable option we have is to go through Wheatland Township's park at this point.
what's a proposal or a future proposal you have for the use of the land? Would it be more beneficial for Wheatland to take the land over and maybe do something else?
That's an option.
That's an option.
Take it over. We would take it over, that would not be an option at this point.
Probably not, no. I mean, I think originally what we had talked
Since we're
about.
landlocked, I'm just saying.
Well, I think the thought was, Commissioner, that when we first looked at this, to have perhaps an agreement with Wheatland to maybe do some development together. I know they have a baseball field down there. I think the thought was maybe a practice soccer field or something like that. So the parks were kind of connected together.
So I'm just looking at the more beneficial, more efficient.
Right.
And use of the land.
Sure. And I don't know if that's ever been discussed or not.
Okay. Maybe so. Well,
Right now, that could be something possible in the future, but right now, the way to finish the transaction with Continental Properties to accept the land at this time would be to have this agreement, because this is one of the conditions of the finalization.
Right. We just want to make sure we want to make sure we have access. We don't want to accept without having this in place. Because it would be like.
but at the same time, it's going to be a lease agreement, right? I believe for Wheatland for how many years?
A license.
For a license, I'm sorry.
Right, provide.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just for right of access.
And you're talking about how many years? You're talking about 5?
The agreement, or the license is for 5.
A grant for 5 years.
My question, I guess, is just, this is kind of unique that we didn't get access to our own park when we're negotiating an agreement to take the land in the first place. So walk me through that
Sure.
process.
If you want, can you go back, Carla, to the site plan? There you go. If you look at where we are right there, the residents of the Springs would have access to our site. This is essentially what we are a gated community program. And through the annexation agreement with the village, which we really don't have any control over, they got, an element of that was that there would not be public access to the park through their subdivision. And because of that, we don't have it. We
We're in those discussions.
No, that's not something. We're not party to those discussions. But again, at the time, it wasn't an issue because our agreement with Wheatland was going to be for future development or other access on the other side through development. You know, as you know, a lot of times we'll connect parks and different subdivisions together to make a larger park or something like that. So that was the thought back then. So that's kind of where we are and where we have it. But we want to make sure we have access now, again.
But at the same time, we want you to do this park district, they have access their own land, so.
Right.
That's where it comes down to, if Wheatland has majority control of the lands, it's already for, park district, and taxpayers accessibility and use, and more efficiency, why have two park districts involved, let one person, take it over.
Oh, certainly. I mean, that's something that, and again, I know that the township and the park district initially, way back when this first came on, right, it was maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that, the thought was to do some sort of coordination. And you can't really see it on there, you can a little bit, but there's a trail system on the Wheatland Township site, okay? So the thought was too, we would, work together to extend perhaps extend the trail up to our site, through our site. We've had a lot of discussions about it, so certainly that could be something, to talk about. I mean, there's a fairly good sized parking lot down there, there's a small play park, and there's a baseball field. So certainly,
Basically, right here where the white is on the map, that's their parking lot, their pavilion, their playground, basketball court, I believe, and the rest is open field. Or,
no, that's the house.
I'm sorry, I'm too far.
It's it.
Yeah, there you go, there's the baseball field, and then where the trail system are. So yes, we have mentioned and talked about possibly gaining access or extending the trail into our park for the future or something. Right now, the biggest concern as we move forward, they are open at this point to just the simplicity of allowing us the license so we can get access. We have said we need to discuss this further in the future, so there could be more possibility as we move forward. And unfortunately, right now, that's an unknown. We just want to make sure we can maintain the land that we'll be receiving.
I mean, so we're not going to do, from what I understand, unless, different, I don't think there's any plan on doing anything with our park.
Yeah, right now, we don't have any developmental plans at this point.
Is that because we don't have access, or is it?
That's the issue right now. We don't have access, and we really don't, it would be better to see what the land around it might develop in the future, because we don't want to, right now, until we figure out something with the township, or we don't want to duplicate what they have there back here. Plus, we also, besides having no access, this is their parking lot, so we have no parking. So that's one of their concerns initially. If we put soccer field back there, are we going to extend their parking lot because of the fact that there's no room to house there? So there's concern. So right now, our goal at this point, until we figure out that would be part of something possibly the master plan, would be just to get us access so we can keep it cut.
So this license is going to cover the access to the parking lot and for people to be.
It allows us to walk, get to the parking lot, mobilize our crew, and go in and
Use it.
Was this part of the Springs development that was part of this park donation? Okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
Because if,
And some cash in lieu.
just for history's sake, there was another development that was supposed to be
Right.
around this that was gonna have more parkland at one time with roads getting to it, that's how we ended up like this, because then that development, I don't know if it's not gonna happen or if it's
Right.
just able or what's going on, but that's how we got to this
Right.
Is
decision.
that the shaded line?
Kind of, yeah. And then up above it too.
There was gonna be a lot of land.
Yeah.
if you look, there's
Yeah, that's probably a
farmland,
better view right
there's farmland surrounding the park.
there. Yeah.
And that was eventually all gonna be more parkland that another developer was gonna attach. That's how we got into this position.
So have we approached Wheatland Township about acquiring their park?
I don't know what kind of discussions that have gone on between them.
I'm just,
I would say.
I know back in the day when I was part of them, what we had talked about was, combining use, like Carlos said, certainly we wouldn't want to put a baseball field there because there's a baseball field there, so if we can combine uses to make it, cost effective, well, maybe to put, maybe a soccer field up there, some practice facilities, something like that, so that, there's uses and our uses will use the park.
well, I'm of the belief that we should have a permanent access rather than a 5-year license for access, because we're going to come back in 5 years and do the same process.
Could agree more.
I mean, we have to be able to access our property, and if we could get an easement through their property instead of a license agreement.
Oh, yeah, certainly that's what we want. But for right now, that's all we can
So
do.
this is just a short-term thing that we can continue on.
Oh, yeah.
We have brought up the conversation of possible acquiring, there are some initial conversations, or possibly just getting a permanent easement that with an agreement of some sort. But right now, our whole goal is just to finalize the kind of.
Obviously, Wheatland Township is not in the parks business. I mean, we could obviously, we could, lease it back to them, or so, use it and develop it ourselves with their approval, and that way we would have access. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do.
Exactly. And those are all discussions that we're going to handle. And again, they kind of happened for a while, and they kind of petered out. And then, now that we're ready to accept it, we kind of had those discussions again.
Well, I said with the states are being a disadvantage, I said being like, first working on the license, availability to get it here. In regards to cost efficiency and so forth, in regards to we don't want beneficial cost savings to the taxpayers in regards to maintaining that park? Is it going to be weekly, or is it going to be us? You know, with transportation, hauling our equipment up there, to maintain a partial land, yeah, you can't get to, you know, unless we have a license agreement to get in there.
Well, and again, I think ultimately, it would always be permanent access. Through an easement, through a grant, I mean, how we want to do it, but permanent.
It's going to have
destination.
the philosophy of the township at that point of where you see they sit within a parks operation. Because right now, they're not 100% sure parks operation is something they want to be a part of.
You don't see a lot of townships doing parks.
And now, future forecast on the property surrounding it, he says undeveloped, must be belly duct, there's development.
Right.
But I'm sure, I mean, with partially Greenfield Village control or who's controlling that land? We could,
It's kind of between you.
yeah, boundary lines.
Right, I think it's Plainfield.
So we have a bigger picture of regards to what's you want for the future for that area? In regards
Oh,
to
the
how
type of
it's
development?
Right.
I
And
don't
it's
know.
going to be attaching us to another portion of land that will expand that part, you can give us access.
Well, what we've done in the past with these types of developments where we've seen subdivisions go next to each other, commissioners, we've worked with the developer of the one site to line up, for lack of a better term, our park site with the site in the other subdivision. So in other words, we'll talk to, and that's kind of where that was, that's what the call was. And so what we try to do in the past is to have that subdivision, this new subdivision here, connected to this old subdivision here, so our park sites are adjacent or they're connected somehow, and then there's access. So, I mean, you're correct, that's how we do it. But until there's some development there's not too much of that. Right.
And the development that was planned was single-family homes.
Yeah, I mean, the Springs was a different development than you usually see in New York.
And at this point, to the park itself, our park, is there any dire need that we need to get in here right now?
At this point, we had some seeding we have to finish off as part of the finalizing the agreement, so we'll do some seeding. But right now, part of the finalizing the agreement with Continental Properties is showing that we have an access plan. Because their fair is how, if we can't get in, how's it being maintained? So,
Questions or discussion? Okay, so we'll need a motion.
Yeah, I know we benefit with this agreement. What is the license going to cost us? No, okay,
Oh,
it's just an access.
no, cash in lieu, cash in lieu, I said before, this is a, right, you do park dedications.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Sure. No cost.
Does anyone like to make a motion? Roll call.
Spears?
Yes.
Rudin?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Solosky?
Yes.
Stein?
Here.
Now, we're on to seeking a motion to approve resolution 2014-22, authorizing the president to execute an agreement amending the park dedication agreement for the Springs and 127th Street.
I'll move that the board approve resolution 2014-22.
Any discussion on that?
Spears?
Yes.
Rudin?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Solosky? Yes. Stein?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item N is seeking a motion to approve creation of a planning position.
In your board packet, I provided with the job description for a new director of planning position. One of the things as we've looked at the district and my short time here talking to staff, it's one of the areas that we do see a void in and we would like to fill. And right now with one of our staff, our division managers in the Parks Department, accepting another job in another municipality, it left us with an opening to possibly restructure a little bit and redefine the department. So using dollars from that position and then also two other positions that we don't plan on fulfilling at this time, since this position was not budgeted for, we would be able to accommodate for the salary that fits in with classification 2 of our salary structure. So right now, looking at the job description and the organizational chart, it would fall in as a 4th, 5th division or department director. So that's what we're kind of seeking at this point. If there's questions.
questions in regards to planning, I can have no problems with planning, but as long as they're efficient and keep record with regards to law maintenance.
So if the position's
Regards
approved,
regards to managing board and so forth, and keep the project, dollar amounts.
There's a lot of discussion here about procurement and risk management. Aren't those issues for the business manager?
no, when we refer to procurement and risk management, we're actually looking, is part of this person's job, it's actually part of everyone's job, so I would not single it out to the business manager or the director of finance. But procurement, we're looking more for the RFPs, the preventative maintenance quotes, et cetera, working through all those processes too, on how we handle it.
Agreed.
So that's what procurement, we're referring more into those
So
processes.
safety and risk management policies.
Yeah, a lot within district operation, that's a pretty standard thing, most of our job descriptions is something.
The other one for the qualifications, there isn't anything in here, this is just suggestions.
Sure.
But there's nothing in here about AutoCAD or GIS experience.
I believe it was a cat, if I'm listening.
Somebody who's got 8 to 10 years of experience plus a
We
bachelor's
did,
degree.
I apologize, because I thought it was in here, so I.
Fluid and comprehensive.
Right, but you
Yeah.
need to be able to draw things and download AutoCAD drawings and revise them and use GIS.
And so we will make that amendment, because I know in one of the drafts that we put together with our new HR generals was, we did have a CAD component that is preferred. We're not making it a mandatory one, but.
Do we have that capability? Do we have
Okay.
AutoCAD
Yes.
or do we have another GIS program?
We have CAD, we have our CAD right now, just no one is 100% not sure. how to do it right now.
Nobody, a landscape architect would use it.
Exactly.
That's right. That's okay.
Is there a motion to approve the creation and fulfillment of Director of Planning and Procurement position?
I'll make the motion.
Roll call.
Pierce,
Yes.
Ludeman,
Yes.
Stuckey,
Yes.
Pulaski,
Yes.
Stiles.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we're on item 10, seeking a motion to approve the IAPD credential certificate. Does anyone have any questions or discussion?
This was going to the conference.
That's Chad. And if none of the commissioners are planning on voting conference, I'm not sure, I can always be the person to fill in the top, and then the commissioner has an alternate.
That sounds good. So what is the motion? Okay.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
So you're appointing Carl as the delegate, right?
Yes.
Which- Pierce,
Yes.
Ludeman,
Yes.
Newton,
Yes.
Pulaski, Stiles.
Okay.
Motion carries.
New business. This is, that moves us to board initiatives.
We have one board initiative for city of rentals
Yes.
notification.
Moving to use the name of Plainfield Township Community Center for our buildings for 2015. So the policy committee with Janet and Rob, and some alternates at the scheduled meeting, and have to go forward and approve that here.
Commissioner comments. Overcoming this.
All right, is that question? The first, the info is resources, we talk about info and resources, what's that terminology or what's it mean?
I'm sorry.
You're deferred in regards to your Plainfield Township Park District Owners, statement, net position.
Yes.
Okay, you had a written item, I guess it was something discovered in regards to, was it about $2.8 million?
Yes.
Okay, What's that mean, in regards to inflows? Is it outflows or inflows or?
In your packet, there was a memo regarding an explanation of that, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, what was that explanation? I didn't get clarity on what it means.
What,
Can you explain that to me, please?
yes, okay, so if you look at the